Not only do I want adults to start realizing that they could find their passion, and I don't want to do it in a contemporary talking point ways. I was you. I was the guy that had no direction. I was the guy that took a job and was told. And I always tell people like, yo, but you had some good jobs. It was making good money. You know, I was broke. I was broke because I was spending money trying to find a way to find some level of happiness.
Bruh! So get out of my head, Marklyn.
So I would go out on the weekends and waste money beyond money because the only thing I wanted to do was be happy. I was having sex with women that I normally probably wouldn't have messed around with, but I was like, screw it. I'm having sex. I'm drinking. I'm finding some joy in my life.
Hey, old buddy, old junk. Listen, it's about to be on. Why is that, Paul? I'm glad you asked Brian and I, because we got the MisterDirect in the building.
What up? What up? What up? What up?
This my guy. Yo, listen, people, welcome to this More Than Black or White podcast. Listen, we've been coming at you all with some goodies, some guests. We've been hitting on many different areas of health and well-being. We've got 60 episodes in the tank. We're chilling. And if this is the first time you're here, welcome. This podcast is about you getting your health in order. And that's getting tips, tactics, strategies that you can do with the help and assistance of your professional, your doctor, your naturopath, whoever you work with. This is about getting tips and tactics to give you and you be in tip-top health and well-being. And today, well, first of all, for I gotta check in. B, how you doing, bro?
Living the dream, man. Let's get on with this. I want to hear what Mark has to say, and let's go.
Listen, because this guy's already cracking us up. Look, so listen, party people. Today we're gonna focus. If you recall, if you're a subscriber to the channel, thank you. And if you recall, we had a couple of we did an episode on mental faculties, one of which was will. So when Brian and I were doing we have a monthly meeting where we check in, we recalibrate for the month, what we're doing next, all these things. And I was telling him about Marklyn, and I said, listen, man, I want to get this guy on and talk about will, because what this guy does, I think he wills things to happen with his consistency, with his assertiveness, with his charisma, and also with just his badassery. So Marklyn Johnson, just to give you a heads up, is a comedian. He's an author. I also think you're a community leader. He's a podcast host. He's MisterDirect. And in my 48 years of life, he has got to be one of the realest cats that I have ever met. It's a blessing and honor to be here with Marklyn. He's got 3 books that we're going to go in today. 3 books he's going to talk about, and also his comedy and also his will. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is our pleasure to welcome Marklyn Johnson, Mr.
Hold on for
Bless up, Marklyn.
Is that a dry patch on my head right there? That looked like a dry patch. I need to go get some hair grease.
You might need to, man. Get some oil. Make sure that grease don't have any chemicals, though.
You know how your mama tell you don't go walking out the house and embarrass me with your dry ass skin. So I'm trying not to embarrass myself. Like, hold on, they're gonna be looking at that one dry patch right there. That's two. You like your close up right now. There's a dry patch there. There's one here. Oh man, I should have put.
I'm gonna pull out.
Good. Man. Listen, at this point, I'm in my home. I'm relaxed. If people don't understand that and they get upset, I got bags underneath my eyes too. But we ain't gonna talk about that.
Hey, it's all good, bro. That's how I know you working, bro, because you hitting all the shows, man. You hit the stages, son.
Listen. I said I wanted to be more active in the New York scene because in comedy, the New Jersey scene unfortunately seems like a lot of these guys just want to be weekend comics. The New York scene is the guys that are like, even if I don't plan on being the next Dave Chappelle, I want to do work with this. I want to do work with my comedy. The goal is to be a motivational speaker and being able to use comedy through the vessel of motivational speaking when I share my story, which I'm slowly walking into, but I'm still trying to grapple with the whole entire part because I love going on stage and talking. How bad am I allowed to curse on this? Do you keep it? Do you keep it clean?
The more the better.
Yeah.
The more the better.
Yeah, you good, bro. Be you.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Let me just. So the thing, here's the theory.
Oh shit! Here we go.
So here's the theory. So first of all, I never thought I was going to be a comic. I never thought I was going to be a comic. The reason why I never thought I was going to be a comic is because I'm like, who the hell wants to hear my nonsensical bullshit? Growing up, as I got older and became in my teens, I the expression "get in where you fit in." I became better friends with a lot of white people than I did some of my black, counterparts. And it wasn't that my black counterparts didn't like me. It was just my personality. Whoever liked me. So I gravitated to where I started becoming more friends with white people than I did with black people. My family liked me, but I had black friends. But it got to a point. It's funny. I made a post about it today. More black people, a lot of black people thought I was white, and more white people would tell me that I was white and not black.
Bruh,
right?
I saw that. Yo, thank you for that. Yep.
So out of that, when the whole entire thing with Obama came around and I started talking about racism, first of all, a lot of black people distanced me because if you was in your 40s and 50s, you don't dare talk about racism amongst white people because that could agitate them and get them upset. Now, as far as I would say as far as when I started talking about it, 35 to 40 to 50 to 60-year-old white people, you damn sure are not supposed to be talking about racism amongst them because now you're the quote unquote angry black guy and trying to use racism to get something for nothing. I thought because I'm the goofy, get in where I fit in, my message would be delivered a little bit easier. Like, hey, we know him. He's the goofball. If he's telling us this, maybe there's something to it. What I realized is there is racism so ingrained in people that people can't ever take a step back and look at their lives and be like, yeah, there's a lot of racism going on because grandma, grandpa, granddad, great uncle, sister, they've all accepted that this is how it's supposed to be and we're supposed to accept it. Yeah. And out of that, I kept talking on Facebook. And I realized how angry people were when the subject of racism comes up because it's a denial. Yeah. That forced me to really figure out what I wanted to do. And I always wanted to have my own radio show. So I started MisterDirect's Real Talk on, oh my God, I forget it was one of these podcast blog talk radio.
Blog Talk Radio. Yeah.
And I ran that and we just talked about pop culture. It wasn't all racism. We talked about pop culture and everything. That pushed me to in 2014 when they started letting people do Facebook Live. Because remember, Facebook Live at first, you had to be a celebrity.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden they were like, okay, we're going to open it up. Yeah. I was doing, before podcasts became popular, I was doing video podcasting. So I was using 3 cameras in my studio. This is one of them you're looking at, and audio and a whole 9. And I was just doing what I was doing. I didn't care. Yeah. A gentleman came in and saw what I was doing. He said, you'd make a great host. I see something in you. I think you'd make a great host. He gave me an opportunity to host a show for him. And he was a 30-year vet in comedy. He gave me an opportunity.
Was it a comedy show or was
comedy
it
show? He gave me an opportunity to host for him. And I went in and I hosted for him. I did like 5 minutes up front and I didn't write a joke or nothing. I just used whatever I saw around me. Killed it. And I'm
wait. This was your first time?
My first time.
Okay.
He gave me an opportunity. I had gone on stage and done open mics, but I didn't take it serious. It was just open mics was a way for me to just, test out my brain, test out what I got. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, the guy said, the guy gave me an opportunity and I killed it. I was like, wow, I could really do this. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then after that, I started working at a production company off and on, and the money was here, wasn't there, was here, wasn't there. Now I'm in New York City. I went and looked up, this is 6 months before COVID hit. and I looked up comedy mics in the city, and I found that they started like 12:30 in the afternoon. So I said, okay, fine, because you guys ain't paying me, even though I'm coming in the office and doing my duty. I'm just going to go ahead. And it was just, when you're working with a startup, sometimes the money's there, sometimes it's not. So I didn't blame anybody. I said, let me take advantage of the situation. So I started hitting mics all over the city to the point where I was doing like 5 to 6 a day. So you got to think about it.
You quit the job. You're like,
I was still working the job, but I was like, well, we ain't doing anything, so I'll leave in the middle of the day, right?
Got it. Okay.
But I was still getting paid. They still owed me money, but I was just doing what I got to do. Word. So you got to think about it. If you're doing mics 5 to 6 to 7 times a day, 5 minutes a pop, that's 30 to 35 minutes on stage every day. If you're doing that 6 days a week, 35 times 6, that comes up to like close to 90, if not more than that, minutes of stage time every week. Yeah. So doing that for 6 months, I got good really fast. And I started doing comedy, and I kept doing comedy. And then I had, flux here, there, everywhere. Things were working. And out of that, I wrote my first book because I saw an article and it said anybody can write a book. And it was like, yeah, you could write a book. So I ended up writing my first book, Lessons from a Shit Talker. So here's the deal behind that. It took me, I had a 5-hour flight to California. I took an edible and wrote this book on a 5-hour flight.
What? No,
90-page book.
Stop playing. What?
I need to do more edibles.
I took an edible and I wrote that in 5 hours. Just straight up wrote it. Sent it to a friend, and it still, listen, I'm not gonna lie to you, it still needs a little bit of fine-tuning with touched up, but I was able to just write it. Now, the second book I wrote, I was actually going to release it before I did the first book I released. I had some wild conversations on Facebook, and nobody would believe the shit that people would say to me. I had people that would say some wild shit and not think twice. Like, who the hell are you? I can say whatever I want. I said, oh, okay. And I didn't tell them that I was going to make a book. I just kept letting them talk shit. I was like, nah, just keep talking. And I would engage. And sometimes I'd get angry, but I would always just be like, all right, I would never get nasty like they would get nasty, but I would always just respond to them and keep the conversation going, right? So that created this book, Facebook Conversations, the Good, the Funny, the Ugly. So this was book number 2. So that was a gift and a curse. The reason why it's a gift.
Wait. I'm curious because listen, people on Facebook talk a lot of shit.
Yeah.
So how was it for you a gift and a curse?
It was a gift and a curse because when people figured out that I was using their words against them in a book that people could read, they stopped engaging me. They don't talk shit to me no more. They don't.
Well, that's one way to stop it, bro.
Let me tell you something. The greatest gift I ever got in this world was, and people talk about it all the time, I never get nasty with people. I never talk about people on a personal level. I let them talk about me on a personal level, and here it is in black and white. So if anybody has a dispute, my first words are, we're talking about Donald Trump, and you talk about I'm broke. What does me being broke have to do with the subject of Donald Trump?
Yeah.
Like, you automatically went to it being personal. You automatically made it about me when it's not about me. It's about politics. And notice, I've never commented about you. I never talked about your life. I never talked about your kids. I never talked about your husband or your wife. I never talked about your kids. I never talked about anything personal, but you try to talk about me personal. It stopped it because now people have been warned, like, yo, first of all, he's a lot smarter than you think he is. Yeah. Second of all, you're not going to win because at the end of the day, it's in black and white that you're ignorant and I'm not. It's there for people to see.
Yeah.
So are there names actually in the book?
Well, I changed everybody's name. And so like if you're a woman, I took your first initial, middle initial, depending on how you wrote your name. I took you in the alphabet, added them all together, went plus or 5 in certain degrees. And, guy 35, girl 96. And your words are exact, but nobody knows who the person is.
Who you are. Right.
So if the person tries to sue me, the only person's name that's there is mine. So if the person tries to sue me, the person has to prove that it was their words. And then on top of that, they really can't do anything because they were saying them on my page or a public forum where the information is there for everybody to read. So therefore, are you going to sue Facebook as well? Because it's shit there for people to see.
Good point.
Yeah.
So now,
when was it? Well, what time frame was that? Was that when Trump first got into office?
These conversations went towards Trump, but they started when Obama came into office. Let me tell you something. And it was funny. I had this conversation today. I always knew there was subtle racism in the area that we live in this country. People don't realize New Jersey is the 6th most segregated state in the country. You can go, if I say we're going to go to Little India, what town do you think of? Edison. Boom.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you look at where most black people live in certain towns, redlining. You go to Summit, you know where the black people live unless they really got scratched and then they blend in. But if you're a middle America black person making money and you're not rich, but you know where all the black people live, like this is that section of town. You know the Italian section of town. You know, like that's redlining. It was so normal in our lives that people didn't think twice about it. Right. People didn't think for a second. It was just normal for them. So when all this with Obama and everything came out, I was like, I want to write a book about racism, but not preachy, not educational, but more so factual about the experience. That's where That's where I came up with this. I like black people, the good ones, an observation from experience. Now that was based on the fact that if you remember, Clark, New Jersey, when all the protesting was going on, the mayor of Clark actually had the audacity to say, "I like black people, the good ones." Now, here's the funny part about it. Yeah. When I released that, there were so many people that said, "I remember my uncles, and I remember my dad, and I remember my grandmother." That was such a comment for them to make. Yep. Like, yeah, I like the good ones of those people. You know, like you're one of the good ones. I like you. My aunt, who's got me by at least 30 years, when I told her the title of the book, she goes, "I used to be called one of the good ones." They would say it to you. They would say it to you like a backhanded compliment, like, you know, you're one of the good ones, right?
Right.
I was when I didn't talk about racism, I was one of the good ones.
Mm-hmm. Marklyn, did they hit you with like, "Oh, you're not like the other ones"?
Well, yeah, you're not black. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Bro, I can't even tell you how many times I heard that shit.
The worst part,
I can't even tell you, bro.
The worst part about it is it's white women that love, excuse what I'm about to say, they love black penis.
Yes.
But they'll say that because they think they're complimenting you that you're not black.
Yeah. It's like, what the? Dude, so I gotta say, man, because when you reached out to me about the book before you published it, I was like, yo, man, I'd be happy to read it. But I started reading it, I was like, yo, this dude lived my life. But you have a lot of, and I have yet to finish the book, so I want to finish it because it was. I had to reflect
on PDF, right? I said,
you sent me a PDF. Okay. But that book, man, because it's a book where you got to like, if you're open to it, reflect on what Marklyn's saying, man. Because if you really want to address that, the racism and what he's saying, you got to be open and willing to reflect on it. And Marklyn, that's one of the things I really appreciate about what you do, man, because you put stuff right in people's face in a way that is, I would say Dave Chappelle-esque, right? Like, because he can make it a story, he can make it a joke, but the thing is you still hear the message. And that's what I hear with you, man. Even in your posts, when you're sharing about like when you're on stage and when you're, just even when I remember when you were doing substitute teaching, and then you actually had I don't know if it was I guess it was because we first started connecting several years ago. Mm-hmm. So that's when I started seeing you doing more of the public speaking. I was unsure if you did that beforehand, but I saw you started doing that. and then like talking about like you're just very authentic in how you present, even like talking about your background, what you're up to, and things like that. I'm curious, what drives that, man?
What drives it is I spent a lot of years trying to be something I wasn't. I tried to fit into corporate America to the point, and I haven't gone to a doctor for it, but I really have PTSD from it. Like I'm terrified of what I told somebody just today. I said, if I walk through those doors, somebody's going to be bailing me out of jail.
Yeah.
And I just honestly, and this might piss some people off, if you have a big personality and you're black, corporate America is not where you need to be, because they don't want, I hate to say it, but they want you to be quiet, no personality, and wait for you to tell them. They want to wait for them to tell you when it's ready for you to get what you deserve. You're not allowed to be assertive as a black person in corporate America. You're not allowed to say that this is what I want. Now, the way that you do it, which a lot of black people do, they start bouncing around from job to job, each time moving up the ladder. I could do that if I really enjoyed corporate America and the lifestyle. I was never a corporate America person, but it took me like 15 years to figure out that I hated corporate America. And I didn't just hate it because I thought it was a racist environment. That wasn't it. The whole system, the way it's built, was not good for me at all. It's never been good for me. I was never that cat that could sit in a cubicle and be like, okay, this is my life. And it's funny, people that know me from back then that see me doing stuff now, and they're like, dude, you're like such a happier person. And I go, because I'm doing something I like.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. Listen, I'll admit it, I'm broke. I'm still trying to work on getting something more consistent. But you want to know something? The minute I get to go on stage, I will take a bad day on stage versus I'll take a bad day on stage versus a great day in corporate America, because the great day in corporate America is so infrequent versus the bad day on stage. I recorded it. I'm like, yeah, I know where I fucked up. And I just change it and go back again. I constantly change. You know, the goal is for me to be a motivational speaker for adults and for kids, more so for adults, because I'm trying to invoke change in adults. Not only do I want adults to start realizing that they could find their passion, and I don't want to do it in a contemporary talking point ways. I was you. I was the guy that had no direction. I was the guy that took a job and was told. And I always tell people are like, yo, but you had some good jobs that was making good money. You know, I was broke. I was broke because I was spending money trying to find a way to find some level of happiness.
Bruh,
so
get out of my head, Marklyn.
So I would go out on the weekends and waste money beyond money, because the only thing I wanted to do was be happy. I was having sex with women that I normally probably wouldn't have messed around with, but I was like, screw it. I'm having sex. I'm drinking. I'm finding some joy in my life. And then when I found comedy, I don't drink anymore. I kind of cut back on the drinking. There's not as much alcohol. I actually cut weed out of my system like a year and a half, 2 years ago. But I mean, I'm just so much happier doing something and pursuing what I love. Yeah. You know, like there's another book coming out. Go ahead.
No. There's what else is
coming? So I'm working on trying to work with adult groups, which is hard for me to find. I'm not going to lie. It's hard to do it all.
Yeah.
But a friend of mine, I sat with him the other day, and he was talking about DEI in the schools. And he was saying, you know, the kids get it. It's not the kids, it's the parents. So now I'm trying to figure out how to bring the message to the parents via the school. Because the schools or the town, if they would really like that book, when you read the book, you'll really get how what I'm trying to do is say, listen, this is a conversation that needs to be had amongst adults.
Yeah.
Not really against the kids. I can have it with kids that are in 8th grade or higher. But it's the adults who have kids that are in kindergarten up. Those are the people that need to have this conversation, and so they understand this is how a black person on average has experienced this country. Take away me being black. Now imagine an immigrant experiencing this country. Imagine a Jewish person experiencing this country. Imagine all these different types of people experiencing this country, and yet and still you're trying to tell us that you know better than us how we experience this country.
Got it. So you're looking to bring that to like the parents, that it comes down to the kids.
And the idea is, I don't want you to think that we hate white people, because when we say white people need to get it, it's not a hate of white people. It's unfortunate that the good white people, I hate saying it like that, but the ones that get it get mixed in with the ones that are assholes. But the problem is the assholes are the loudest, and it should be the reversed. The ones that get it should be louder. So when there's a problem in the schools, the white parents that get it don't show up because they're like, I get it. What am I going there for? But then the assholes that really want to fight the change, the assholes that want to fight what's going on in the progress, they show up and they become louder than the people that are like, no, it makes sense. And now we all know the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right?
Yeah, man.
So go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just like as you're talking, man. It's this concept of will and intention, right?
Yes.
Because what comes up for me, man, is that a lot of the things that you've spoken about, they're challenging items. And I'm gonna hit on one piece that I think is relevant, especially to our viewers, is when you took that jump from corporate to your own path, your own way. And I just want to tap into this because, like, I know for me, I have a corporate gig now. I'm doing my own thing. I've been in corporate for a long time, so I know what you're talking about. And I know for me, when I was making that good money, it was difficult for me to want to go and do anything else.
That's how they suck you in, but that's how corporate sucks you in.
Right. So this is what I want to get to, because like I hear how you made the shift, but I'm curious, like how would you describe your makeup to be able to make that transition?
Oh, I believe in what the fuck I'm doing. Excuse my French, but straight up. If you believe in what you're doing, you're going to find a way to make it happen. And the thing is, nobody wants to challenge themselves to make it happen. Listen, I'm not going to lie. I've had friends floating my rent, buying me groceries, really being over the top supportive when they didn't have to.
Yeah.
And I know the minute the money rolls in, I'm still going to be paying these guys back. But there's a reality of, I believe in what I'm doing. If I didn't, I wouldn't have wrote this last book that I wrote. I wouldn't have wrote any book that I wrote.
Yeah.
If I didn't believe in what I'm doing, I would not go up on stage and still tell jokes.
Yeah.
If I didn't believe in what I'm doing, I wouldn't pursue how to get in touch with adult groups to bring this message of unity and how you need to understand our experience. Like we got to stop looking for the black guy to be passive and, hey, can't we all get along, and say, let's take a second and really understand why they feel the way they feel, the history of it, where they're growing up. You know, I always tell, when I had a conversation with a guy today, and I said, our parents told us to shut up. Our parents, who were boomers and coming away from civil rights, Vietnam War, women's rights, they saw black men and black boys killed. They saw them murdered. They saw it really in a bad way. So if they're bringing you up and you're in a white community, they was like, yo, shut up. Don't talk about it. But I believe I read a book a while ago, and it was, who you are is genetic. It's built into your makeup. And it will eventually come out when you're going in the right path. It'll eventually push you. Most people don't pursue what they want. Most people pursue what they're told or what they have to. Two different things.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm 20 something years old. I graduated from college. All my friends are getting married, settling down. I have to do it too because I don't want to stand out.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, man, because so this is interesting because what I'm hearing is the box. Like they're in a certain age or certain color or whatever it is. They go in the box and they think that that's what it's supposed to do. Right?
Yes,
that's what it's supposed to do. So when because you have a beat on people, man. Like you have a beat on people. Like you be like, oh, I know this guy. I know this cat. Even from like how you observe on the stage, you're like, oh, okay, I see what's going on. So what would you say is the reason that people fail to go for shit?
Fear.
Like fear of what? Do you think?
Everyone, no. Everyone, first of all, everyone's scared of failure, but everyone's scared to not fit in with us. Listen, when they go on stage and they talk about identity politics is about what group do you want to involve yourself with? What side of the coin do you want to be with? Do you want to be with the moral majority or do you want to be with the lesser of the moral majority? In life, everybody wants to fit in. We're all tribal. All the fat people want to fit in with the skinny people. All the ugly people want to fit in with the good-looking people.
This is
right?
true, bro.
All the stupid people want to fit in with the intelligent people. It's all tribalism. Everybody wants to fit in somewhere. So if all my friends are getting married and having kids, I got to get married and have kids. If all my friends are going out and driving $80,000 cars, I got to figure a way to get an $80,000 car. Here's the best example. For years, we always had station wagons, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the station wagon kind of went away and everybody got a sedan. Everybody got a sedan, right? And for a while, people got rid of it. It was, oh, your family can afford a 4-door sedan? Oh, you got some money. Then all of a sudden, the 4-door sedan became inexpensive to obtain. So what became the next piece that every mom with kids had to get in order to be considered a mom? Minivans.
Oh, yep. Wow.
There's not a family alive that's mom and dad in the house that does not get a minivan. Now, if you're a single mom, you don't want to get a minivan because you don't want to look like the single mom with a husband, right? So what do they get? They get a SUV or a crossover SUV. Everybody wants to fit in. If you look at marketing, it's all based off of who you are and where you're at in this world. And that's what you're going to make your purchases off. That's how you're going to buy certain clothing. That's how you're going to buy certain soft drinks, eat certain ways. It's all about who you are and where you want to fit in at. Think about a few years ago when everybody was on this Disney boom. People would go into debt so that they could say, I took my family to Disney World. They would run up the credit card. They would run up a $10,000 credit card that they knew they were going to have to either pay off over the year or 2 years because they didn't want to say they couldn't take their kids to Disney World. They didn't want the embarrassment of their clique of friends and saying, I couldn't take my kid to Disney World because I couldn't afford it. Now, when Disney World started, everybody was able to pay out of their pocket. Yeah. So the family that went could say, yeah, it cost me $3,000, but it didn't cost me a lifeline.
Yeah.
Then as it became popular and became I have to be able to tell everyone that I went to Disney World, people were literally getting credit cards and running up credit card debt to say I went to Disney. Yeah. Everybody wants to fit in. And when you want to fit in, and women do it, white women do it worse than anyone.
White women, how so? What do you mean?
White women.
I'm curious. I gotta hear this, bro. I'm like,
white women. Listen, especially middle class white women. White women will give up their dreams of being something to say, I'm taken care of. I got 2.3 kids. I got a roof over my head. I don't have to ask for a car. The car is there. I don't have to ask to go clothes shopping. I could go clothes shopping. And I'm talking about the ones that don't have to do, like they don't have to work. Because remember, our age group, that's what majority of the women wanted. I wanted to grow up and be a housewife. I actually wrote a joke. What do I want to be? That's a strange question to ask a 51-year-old black guy. But to be honest, I want to be a 51-year-old white woman in the middle class area. I want to go to Starbucks in leggings. I want to take yoga classes. Right? So when I say that on stage, people start laughing. But think about true, how many people think about. So we live in an area that basically our median level of income is like $121,000, something like that. That's
crazy,
right?
Because the national average is like 47. Yeah.
But because of where we're at in the United States, our median level of income is like 120, 121, something weird number, right?
Yeah.
So you got to think about if you are lucky and you marry a husband that's making $300,000 or $400,000 a year, right? You really don't have to work. You're not rich, but you don't have to work. Because if your husband's making $300,000, he's claiming you as a dependent, he's claiming the kids as the dependents. It's easier to have that money come in and if you are smart and put your kid through the educational system of a public school, you really look like you got money. You know what I mean? You're living in a nice house. You can, and I'm not saying you driving a Mercedes, but a brand new Buick, a brand new Dodge, it still looks good, right? So, and I'm not saying everybody, but what I'm saying is we all try to fit into a category because nobody wants to be ostracized and feel alone. I personally feel ostracized and felt that way my whole life. So everything I do is based off the fact nobody likes me anyway, so fuck them all.
Right.
You're not. If I'm great, if tomorrow Dave Chappelle pulls me underneath his wing and makes me the next great comic, they're still gonna hate me.
Right.
So who cares? I gotta live my life for me.
So this is interesting, man, because I think the majority of people, yeah, you're right, do want to fit in. And that fear, I hear what you're saying about that fear being something that's like, oh, well, I don't know if I'm going to be ostracized. So what are the ways that you stay rooted in being okay to like, yo, I don't give a fuck if you like me or not?
You have to put yourself in areas where you are comfortable being. I love going out in public and watching these keyboard warriors just locally just stare at me.
Yeah.
I get a kick out of it when they stare at me and ain't got nothing to say, because that tells me I got them. Because nothing they say to me about, like, you don't say nothing about, like, you don't know me. You don't know. Oh, you're a failed comic. Okay. I performed at the Stand. I performed at Broadway Comedy Club.
Yeah.
I get paid. People pay me. If that's a failed comic, okay, not a problem. I wrote 3 books. What did you do? What did you do? Oh, well, I got a family. Okay, well, some people will say having a family is a failure because you didn't do what you wanted to do. You wanted to be a football player. Instead, you're a fucking stupid ass dad raising some idiotic kids. Some people can say that. Doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like failure, when people want to call other people failures, it's
all relative.
It's usually
all relative.
It is, but it's usually reflective of their failures. They failed.
Yeah.
And they're mad. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, with your personality, I would think if you're in corporate America making $200,000 a year, that would be a failure for you. So what is it? You know, it's all relative. You know,
there's a truth of this. If a man is making, I do this in a dating world perspective, because I met a woman who was making like $250,000 a year, somewhere around that number. She said she wouldn't date a man unless he made that or more, right? And I said to her, if you met a man who was breaking your back in half, like working you over, taking you to dinner,
getting that bottom,
taking you out to dinner, treating you like the queen you are. And he was happy in his job and making $75,000 a year. Would you get rid of him? She said, yeah, because he's not making. She goes, I'll enjoy the sex as long as I could, but then I'd have to get rid of him because he's not. And I said, so what matters more to you is the money. And I said, but you don't care if he's happy and he's treating you because he's happy, he treats you well. You're more concerned about the money. So if he's miserable making the 250 or more, who cares?
Who cares?
As long as he's making that 250. Now let's be real. Who would you rather deal with? A man that's happy as fuck, like just happy every day he comes home because he loves his job and he's treating you great? Or would you have a man that's miserable, but hey, he's making 250 plus, so I'm gonna stay here with a man? And we all know women can put up with misery for only so long before they're gonna kick you out the door and be like, you're too miserable.
Yeah, bro.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
You're a miserable piece of shit. Get the hell out this house. I need some positivity around here.
Yeah, I'll take half that 250 in alimony.
Exactly. Yep, bro.
Here's the way I think of it. So we're all about the same age, within the 40s and 50s, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Most people our age, about 52%, are divorcing because they were unhappy with the person that they were with, right? They didn't like the person they were with. Of the 40, let's say the 48% that are still married, if it wasn't for kids or money, 60% of them would divorce, right? So if you do the numbers, only 20% of people that get married actually marry for love and because they like that person. The rest of the people, it's a business arrangement, or it's I had kids and I thought the kids would fix the situation.
Yep.
Nobody
in there.
Our society, even now, with all the mental health and feelings and emotions, majority of people don't pursue what makes them happy. They pursue what will give them a life that they think that they can attain to maintain a lifestyle. Only 1% of people do better in life than what they've known. 1% in all the world. And I tell this to people all the time. They're like, no, that's impossible. Our generation is the first generation. Gen X generation is the first generation that has not dramatically accelerated past the boomers. Technically speaking, if you do money-wise, we're at the same level. The millennials under us are not expected to be better than Gen X. Mm-hmm. Think about that for a second.
So
but everybody believes
down.
Everyone believes that because you see some successful people, everyone can be successful. 1% of people are successful better than what they've known growing up. 1%.
Yeah, bro.
If you look at it, especially in a black community, the brown communities, gay communities, it's 1%. And most people will think, well, I got a Mercedes and my dad didn't have a Mercedes. Okay. But if your dad was making $25,000, $35,000 and now you're making $100,000, your $100,000 technically is the same as that $35,000. You might be better with the money than your dad was because it's easier now to be more financially secure than our parents. But you're technically living the same lifestyle. If your parents were able to put a car, repair the car, get a house, repair the house, if you could do the same thing, you're not doing better than your parents. You're maintaining the lifestyle that your parents taught you to create. Right. You're not doing better. It looks better because you've got a brand new, you got a house that's a little bit more updated and not dilapidated. You got a better name car than what your parents had because now you could lease a car every 2 years and say, I'm driving a great car.
Yeah.
Now it's easier. Now it's easier to now people know to put your company in an LLC, right? And now put all your businesses through the LLC, make all your money through there, write it all off. And technically, you're really not making money, but you're a business. So you look better.
Yeah.
So knowing that, that's what keeps me grounded in who I am and knowing I have to believe in what I'm doing and where I'm going. If I don't believe in what I'm doing and where I'm going, but I also do it because I want to inspire other people. I can't be a motivational speaker if all I'm saying is, here's the talking points. I want people to go backwards on all my social media or whatever and be like, yo, this dude was struggling and we can see it. This guy was putting in work and we can see it. Yeah. It's good when people reflect on it, but it's better when they can see the work.
Yeah, man. I think that's important too, because I think, Brian, you and I have spoken about this.
Yeah, I'm thinking hero's journey. I'm thinking the hero's journey right now.
Yeah, man.
Exactly what I'm hearing,
bro. Exactly. Yeah. So, because it's, you know, he's going through it right now.
Yeah.
And then when he comes back, he's like, "Oh, Junk, like, look what I've done. This is your money. Thank you for helping me. You, how are you? Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, so, and also something else we talked about too, Brian, is that most people fail to recognize the journey when they see someone's success.
Yeah, they see the end result.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
So, like, they'll see, like, Marklyn, he's on stage, he's got books, he's gonna be on TV, he's got all these things happening, and people are like, "Oh my God, he's so successful." It's like the cats that know him be like, "Yo, man, bro, good for you, bro. I remember when this, yo, you rocking it, bro." And most people don't see it, and that's the people that fail to see the journey, I think, are those the ones that really hate, because they're like, "Oh, look at this guy."
Here's like, the one thing that I tell people all the time, and it's funny because Cat Williams said it. If you don't have enough haters, you need to get yourself some, because haters are motivators.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In my book, in the last book, I dedicated to my haters. I dedicated to all the people that called me a racist, a race baiter, because at the end of the day, if it wasn't for them, that book would not have been written. Because no matter what, you pushed me.
Yeah.
If they had just accepted what I was saying, I probably would have been like, okay, you're listening. You see what I'm doing. But the fact that they started calling me a racist, and I'm like, damn, I'm around white people 90% of the time. How the fuck am I a racist? Like, if I'm a black guy that's a racist, I'm pretty bad at it. Like, I'm doing a pretty bad job of it. You know what I mean? And I remember, so I opened up a fake. I used to get banned off of Facebook so much that I created a fake account and I put my dad's name on it. And I would write like I was my dad. I'm so proud of my son, blah, 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 blah. Some dude, let me tell you how powerful I am. People were taking screenshots of the shit I would say so that they could find a way when I make it to throw it back, you know, like, hey, is this the type of guy you want to follow? So one day somebody posted a picture of this hot chick. Hot, I mean smoking. And I wrote it, ooh, I would take all 400 years of slavery out on that pussy. I would punch the shit out of it. I said I would sing a whole bunch of Negro spirituals while I'm wearing that ass out. Now, those that know my personality know I was being an asshole. Like, I was just being funny, right?
You're like, yeah, I want to see what people say to this. Yeah, bro.
So, fast forward a couple of years later, I created a fake account underneath my dad's name.
Yeah.
And my dad's been gone for a while. Like, he's been passed on for a while. And people that knew like, oh, this is Marklyn, just underneath a different name, right?
Yep.
Let me tell you how fast that racist took that screenshot and said, this is how great your son is. Because I created a post about how proud I was. See, I'm lethal with the mind games with people. I'm lethal with it because I know how people act. So I made the account look like it was my dad. Like, I changed his location to where he was originally born, the year born, which at this point, my dad would be 90 years old. What the hell is he doing on Facebook? You know what I mean? Yeah. But the person couldn't figure it out, even though there was no pictures of my dad. So he sent it and he goes, this is how great your son is. Now, fast forward from there, this guy decided to run for mayor or town council in Garwood. And it turned out he was trolling people with fake accounts using white supremacist shit.
Oh, Jesus.
And I had called him. I knew he was a racist. I said it to people. I was like, yo, you know this guy's a racist. You know he's a piece of shit. And he was running against someone, and then they found all these different accounts. It was like 2 or 3 accounts where he was calling black people Sambos and calling them monkeys. But the point I'm making is that's why I never have to attack people, because all their shit comes to light. It's always exposed all the time.
It's just a matter of time.
That's why I stick to the message and why I continue to be who I am. Because at the end of the day, as long as I'm not hurting people and I'm speaking, I just had a guy today. He was just like, you need to educate yourself. NIGERRRRR. You know, and you know what my comment was? Aw, did I hurt your little racist feelings? I said, educate myself. I was like, you should educate yourself and know that that word is only spelled with 1 R. But I guess you felt by giving me the 5 R's that you wanted me to know that you really meant that word, right? Just little things like that I like throwing back at them. Like, I know who you are. You know, like I know what you're doing, and it doesn't faze me because the only thing you're doing is proving how ignorant you are. But so when you talk about will, that's the stuff that drives me, because I know there's a saying, and I saw it on this girl's refrigerator years ago. Those who matter don't mind, and those who mind don't matter. Yeah. So if you're upset and taking screenshots of the stuff I do, if you're making Facebook social media posts about me, that means I struck a chord in your life. That means I've impacted your life. If you're having conversations about me and I'm not around, I've impacted your life, because I don't talk about you. You don't mean nothing to me. I don't need to go. The only time you hear me talk about people is when I'm like, what's this person's problem that they're coming at me personally? That's it. Because that's baffling. But when people make posts about me, I get the butterflies, man. I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, yo, you took the time to talk about little old me? Really? My friends tell me about when they're hanging out with other people and somebody be like, oh my God, that guy makes me so sick. They laugh because inside they're like, you don't even know that I'm friends with him. They come back and tell me, and I laugh because I'm like, damn, I don't pay your rent. I don't go near your kids. I'm just me. I'm a human being living my life, but I did something that I impacted your life that you're worried about what I do. That's my will. That's what keeps driving me.
Brother, what? Yes. So with this conversation, we may change the title. I know we're talking will, but there's race, there's comedy. A lot of good jokes and gems in here, man. A lot of good jokes and gems. I do want to ask before we start rapping, what is your view on what ails our society today?
Tribalism. Us versus them. Us versus them. Let me tell you something. You see the 3 of us hanging out, like on this having this discussion.
Yeah.
If we went to an area that was highly racist, they would look at Brian and say, Brian, why are you with those 2 niggers? Excuse my French, but that's what they would say.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even think maybe Brian could have been adopted by a black family. They wouldn't think maybe Brian and us have some sort of a bond from childhood that we're like brothers in arms. Yeah. They'll automatically look at Brian and figure, Brian, you're white, I'm white, you should be with us. Right? Mm-hmm. And that's the problem. Because here's the truth. You can't, I forget how it goes, but like they say you can't pick your family. Yeah. But you can. Because sometimes blood ain't everything. Mm-hmm. I'm an only child. So therefore, I get in where I fit in. Mm. I've got more people that are not black that have supported me along the way than I have black people. Yeah. I've had black people, but black people that kind of, I don't want the backlash. I don't want to be associated with it, you know? And then on the reverse, I got white people that are like, hell yeah, keep talking that shit. You ain't saying nothing wrong. Keep talking that shit. Yeah. I got a friend of mine today that hit me up. She said some dude was hitting her up in her DMs, and she goes, and it was a black guy, a white woman, and she goes, do you know him? I was like, not really. She goes, yeah, I'm really not into him, one, and two, he's kind of like a MAGA. And I said, he's a black guy. I said, he's a black guy who got along with a bunch of white people. And some of these white people, they talk MAGA talking points. He blends in with them. So he doesn't see an issue with it because those are his people. I'm not knocking him for it. He's not like, let's kill people or whatever. But that's just who. And she goes, yeah, I couldn't date him because he's a MAGA. Really? That was her thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So she had that tribalism too. It was like, yeah.
Her thing, and her thing is, she's one of the most nicest people. I always said, I think you were a black woman in your other life. Because she hates racists, and listen, she's conservative where she would have voted for John McCain, and I don't mind. But John McCain wasn't an outright racist, you know, on that level the way Trump is. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But even hearing her say that, I was like, all right, I don't care that you would have voted for McCain. You know what I mean? I don't care that you would have done this or done that. But she understands the whole thing about racism. And she understands the fact that, you know, it's stupid. Yeah. Period. What drives us apart is tribalism. I don't need to be your brother in blood to know you're a good person and I'm going to defend you. And the way I put it is, one of the comics I work with is a transgendered woman. And we joke around. We joke around a lot. And I think she flirts with me. And I don't think she flirts with me to hook up. I think she flirts with me to say, I wonder if he finds me attractive as a woman. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And I joke around and I have fun back. But at the same time, when somebody said something wild to her, I just responded to the person. I said, how about you respect her for who she is and stop making, you know, ignorant remarks to her? I didn't say it to impress her. I didn't say it for any other reason that we're brothers in arms or brothers and sisters in arms. She's a comic. I'm a comic. You're a human being. I'm a human being. When we can stop using who we are as a skin tone, as a defense for our ignorance, and start loving and respecting each other as people, a lot of this stuff will go away.
True words, bro.
But there's too much misery in someone's life. And when you have somebody like Trump come around, Trump is telling you your misery is because those black people took jobs from you. Now he's saying the immigrants are trying to take the black people's jobs who try to take your white people's jobs. See what I'm saying? As long as he plays into people's fears, then people will constantly, oh, yeah, I think that way already. And you got to remove that. Because the people that are fucking us up is corporate America. All these big machines that are moving around, and they want to make sure they stay in power. And how do they stay in power? If we could convince heterosexuals to hate homosexuals, which homosexuals are 1% of this country, less than. If we could get heterosexuals to hate trans, less than 1%. If we could get people with homes to hate homeless people, less than, you know, whatever. Think about it on the reality of this. Think about how much money we put into defense. Think about how much money we put into all the other programs that America is good for America. Go back and look up the percentage for welfare, Social Security, homeless people. It's under 10% of our national budget. But people freak out about the money being spent on less than 10% because they've been convinced it's okay to spend $300 and $800 billion trillion on a national defense, which it's not that expensive. But hey, if I can pad it so that now I could get my little initiatives, I can get some money out of it. And that's why Trump jumped into politics, because it's easier to pad a program for the government and say, this program is going to cost us 90 million. What do you mean it's going to cost us 90 million? Looks to me it's going to cost us 185 million. So what happens to that other 95 million? Oh, I need money for this. Oh, I got this extra program. That's how they end up breaking us apart, because everybody's got their hand in their pocket instead of saying we're the ones as a country getting fucked.
Damn, man. Damn. Whew. Wow. Brother,
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to go there. I'm sorry.
You went there, and you're not sorry. So, look, come on. But yeah, man, listen, this was intense, man. This was intense. This was some good shit, man. And Marklyn, I know you're passionate about what you do, what's showing up in the world, man. So I appreciate you taking the time to be with us on this podcast and really talk about will, race, and society. It's like really those are the key themes that I was hearing in this podcast, man, and like hearing in your words and how you were talking about your experiences and answering the questions, man. So I appreciate that. Marklyn, do me a favor, man. Before we wrap up, man, can you give us a run of? Can I get Marklyn on? Hold up. No, hold on.
You got to kick Brian into the green room.
Put me in the ether.
Let's see. I thought that I could do. I'll edit this part. Our solo layout. Let's do solo layout. Let's see. All right. Yeah. Now, Marklyn.
Yeah.
Let's see those books before we wrap up, and tell the people how they can connect with you, whether it's for speaking engagements, comedy, hosting events. Talk to us about that, man.
I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of humble and don't really like to brag on myself.
Oh, child, please.
Come
on, man.
I'm really shy about sharing the things that I've done.
Oh, I can see.
I just don't believe people. But listen, if you go to Amazon, you can get this copy of Lessons from a Shit Talker, written by me. This was the first book, Lessons from a Shit Talker, available on Amazon. The second book available is Facebook Conversations, the good, the funny, the ugly. And the third book, which is the most recent, just released this year earlier, I Like Black People, the Good Ones, an observation from experience. Here's something that you guys might be fascinated about. I wrote 3 books in 4 years. And that's a lot for some people that can't even write a book at all. I wrote 3 books in 4 years.
Impressive. That's awesome.
My first book was written in 2020. Then the next book came a little bit after that. Then there was a gap, and then the final book here. So hopefully within 5 years, it's going to be 4 books in 5 years. That's the goal.
Good for you.
I perform all over the country. Right now, I am working with Laughing Buddha Comedy, hosting shows and being on some shows. The goal, I'm going to say this again. The goal is to be an impactful, motivational speaker. I want to motivate people, one, to follow their dreams, but I also want to impact people to learn to start having the real conversations. Listen, if you are failing in life, you got to be open to hear you're failing at life. Yeah. And a lot of people are nowadays like, yeah, this is where I'm screwing up. So if you're failing on your human relations avenue of understanding that Black people exist differently and we're monolithic. Listen, if I'm a filthy, stinking, rich Black guy and I live in an all-white community, I have nothing in common with Black people that live in a hood. We're not monolithic. But the problem is, if nobody knows I'm rich, there's this level of thinking that we are monolithic. You know, Think about how many football players that you don't know they're football players until they tell you they're football players, right? And the minute you tell them they're football, the minute they say they're football players, everybody's mindscape changes. You know, you look at them differently because you play in the NFL. Oh, okay. And he could be the biggest piece of shit in the world. But the fact that now he's telling you and you can look him up and you know he's playing in the NFL, you look at him differently.
Mm-hmm.
But he's still a human being, period. And when you receive people in this world, you need to receive them as human beings. You know, one of my best friends in the world, his son calls me Uncle Marklyn. And he's a 13-year-old kid. I poke fun at him and I make fun of him all the time. And the funny part about it is I call him a knucklehead like I would call any kid a knucklehead. And he's receptive to me. He sees me out with his friends, and I'm not his dad's friend. You know, I'm not, hey, that's my dad's friend. He'll walk up to me, hey, Uncle Marklyn. And I tell people that story and they think I'm crazy. And I go, you got a 13-year-old white kid walking up to me and calling me Uncle Marklyn. Think about that the next time you open up your mouth. Because at the end of the day, if I had a kid, my kid would call his dad Uncle Bill. Because that's how close we are. We're family. Yeah, and I would take a bullet for any of my friends. I don't care about the color of your skin. Like Martin Luther King said, I care about the content of your character. And if you're a piece of shit, you're a piece of shit. It is what it is. It don't make a difference.
Right.
You know what I mean? And Paul, I think I said to you before, I know I'm an asshole. I'm a pain in the ass. I know, but my friends that love me will tell you in 2 seconds. He would give you the shirt off his back if he could. Yeah. For the people that he loves, he'll give you a shirt off his back. For the people he don't care about, you can go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Scott McDuffie told me, he was like, yo, this dude's a real one, man. He's going to tell you how it is. I'm like, all right, let me meet this cat, man. He's the guy that introduced us.
I don't pull nothing on anyone. What you see is what you get. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just me. And I think that's the reason why I am the way I am, is because I want people to get a sense of authenticity and not a sense of I'm selling you something. That's why I hate the word charming. Because when you hear the word charming, you feel like somebody's about to bamboozle you out of something. Like, yo, this motherfucker's about to take some cash. He about to take some cash out of me.
He's a charming cat. Like, what? Oh, shit. Brother, I'm happy for the way you are. Our viewers are happy for the way you are. Brian is happy for the way you are because you got some gems on us, man. B, any words, man?
Man, that was awesome. That was really good. I didn't really talk too much because I was just taking it all in, and I was just you were dropping some gems, man. And I can't believe, like, I did a gummy about maybe 6 months ago, and I drooled for about 12 hours on my couch, and you started a trilogy. You know, impressive.
Bro, it was.
Really did.
The funny part was I was doing shows for New Jersey Weed Man. Mm-hmm. And he was paying me in a little bit of money and a whole bunch of edibles and weed if I wanted. I didn't do weed. I didn't smoke, but I took edibles. So I would walk back with more edibles than I could consume in a week. So at one point, I had like a 3-month supply of edibles, right? And I'm selling them to my friends. I'm like, yo, take it, get rid of it. I don't need it, right? And there was just one I took, and I think it was like 75 milligrams. Yo. The only thing I'm going to tell you, I used to be able to perform with taking an edible.
Oh, I don't know how you do that.
I'm going to tell you, and I'm not talking about perform on stage. I'm just going to let that one ride with
it. Okay. Right.
I had a feeling that's what you meant, bro.
Yo, I had a girl, we were hanging out. I had a woman, we were hanging out, and I got so gone off that edible, right? And I'm ready, she ready. But I was just like, yeah, who are you? Like, I was like, what are you doing here? Why are you in my apartment? What's going on here? And there was this level of, yo, are you okay? What do you mean, am I okay? Why are you here? She goes, I think I better go. Yeah, get out. So trust me when I tell you, sometimes them edibles, they'll hit you a different way.
They'll give you a wallow upside your head, man. Yeah. Bless up, man. Marklyn, brother, thank you. I'm excited for our subscribers to hear this podcast. And especially with everything going on in this political climate in our society, I think this is going to be a good intro and opener to some, hopefully some deeper conversations, man. So thank you for this, man. For the people watching, thank you. For the people that's the first time watching, thank you. Like, share, subscribe. Listen, there's a lot of great stuff in this podcast. If something resonated with you, put that junk in the comments so we can reply and we can comment. And we can have a conversation. That's one of the things we talked about today, having a conversation, being real, man, like going with it.
Here's the last thing I want to tell everybody. If you're white, go to your black friend and say, yo, I want to have a real conversation. No bullshit. Punch me in the face. Hit me with some real shit. Don't be easy on me. Don't be. If you're black, offer that up to your white friends. Like, listen, I'm not here to hurt your feelings, but I really want you to have this conversation. Jewish people, Asian people, have those heart to heart. Because let me tell you something. It's not just man to woman. It's in general as people. Yeah. We need to start having these real conversations and being honest with each other. Because by having these deep conversations, we will create change. I want to walk. My jokes are my jokes. My jokes are always, I could joke about anything. I don't care. Life is a joke. It just is. But the impact, and I think that's what everybody needs to remember. Have you left your situation better than when you walked into it? The impact by having real conversations is I'm asking to learn, to change. I don't care if you only change 5% of who you are. I don't care. If your friend sits there with you and says, listen, you're not a racist, but sometimes you say some very insensitive shit. Listen, you're not a homophobic, but sometimes you say some insensitive shit. You know what I mean? Hey, you're not a sexist, but sometimes you say some insensitive shit. You've got to be strong enough to hear that you are not perfect. You've got to be strong enough to stop thinking because you surround yourself with a bunch of people who tell you, nah, it's not that big of a deal, that, yo, maybe it is that big of a deal. Yeah. Because it's easy. Listen, as black people, it's easy to surround ourselves with other black people that are like, fuck them all. It ain't that hard. Trust me on that one. Right now, I could go in a comedy world. I could go to an all-black comedy club and hear them ragging on white people, and then get a section of black people that are like, I can't stand white people. And then if I surround that self with me for fucking, 6 months, in 6 months, you're going to hear me say, I hate white people, because that's all I'm surrounding myself with. Yeah. Yep. The strongest person in the room is the person that will tuck their ego away and say, let me learn from people who can tell me their experience.
And so it is, bro.
And if you ain't willing to hear their experience, you are part of the problem. You are. It's if I don't want to hear any of my white friends ever talk about their frustrations, I'm part of the problem.
Got you. Yeah, thank you, bro. Yeah, man. Thank you for that, bro.
Thanks for sharing that.
What a way to end the podcast, man. Marklyn, thank you so much, brother. Powerful.
No, thank you for this opportunity.
Our pleasure, man.
I appreciate you.
And with that, party people, we are out.